listening to the Drink Champs episode, Kanye. I've listened to both. You're going to listen to one.
Yeah.
I think you got to be a real piece of shit to be a black man and me not support you, right? So there's no part of me that will ever say I could turn my back on Kanye. Like I hear some black people, speak up. And like I said, I'm not a full supporter. I've never really been a supporter of anybody who ain't putting money in my pockets per se. But he's been fortunate enough, not to brag anything, he put money in my pockets when I lived in Los Angeles. So I'm very grateful for that. It definitely came at a time. Shit, I probably owe my laptop to him if I'm really thinking about it. But losing his mother, right? And I understand how much of she was the backbone and probably getting the mess around entertainment industry away from him, right? And probably being she that was an elder who lived in Chicago, again, very, I don't want to use the word gang infested, but gang sizable community.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there were certain members or certain people in the community that she just had to respect. She worked at the university, right? So I'm pretty sure she had their respect. And that also as well kept him protected, right?
Right.
But as someone who's lived in Los Angeles for a good duration of time, not just on no visitation shit, but a good duration of time, I can tell you that the entertainment industry will eat you up if you don't have a support system that you can kind of, let your hair down with and be yourself and be who you were or always been. And again, I don't know this man personally. I don't ever want to make it seem like I do.
I mean, you also got to take into account what Patrice O'Neal talked about, which is the people want to be eaten. Like
the machine.
Yeah, you got to remember, like, people are in line to be eaten, is what he said. So as much as you want to feel bad for them, going along certain paths or showing certain, having things happen to them, it's a part of what comes with the territory. Like, as fast as you feel sympathy, or empathy for what he's experienced, like you see the jets flying over you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how it goes the other direction as far as his feelings towards you. Like, you don't have this bad, you ain't made it. You don't understand and worship what I've done because of what I've sacrificed for that to take place. So, like, it was something to watch. And with those things, I don't. It's entertainment. Where does the entertainment stop and the person begin? Who knows? But like you said, he put money in your pocket, so his track record,
And I know there's like rumors about how because they always travel with the traveling choir, and they're pretty much large, right? They varied in size, but the shows that I did, they were pretty large, right? Yeah. Some people said they didn't get paid. Listen, every person I seen that joint rolled up in brand new or very mint condition looking Adidas Yeezy gear.
Yeah.
That's part of the job. That's kind of and if you ain't pay into that, obviously any business gonna use it to their advantage.
Yeah.
Right. So for all those
records of the whole thing.
Right. Anybody who didn't get paid, I pray you do. Anybody who had any bad business, that's part of business.
Hey man, that's why you sign contracts to put U.S. currency.
Listen, even contracts are sometimes motherfuckers hop over those like hurdles, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I hire lawyers.
It's why you hire lawyers. That's why you have somebody, an entertainment lawyer, or at least a personal lawyer who you can read contracts and who knows how to get things of litigation started if things don't go your way. Now that's a waiting process. So I heard a good artist, Fonte, say, in the meantime, you should be working on the new shit. I've heard Count Bass say the same thing too. Like he said, he lost some music, and instead of just dwelling on the lost music and trying to get it and trying to fight to get it, just like, nigga, just make some new shit. Right? They can't control that.
Yeah, and I remember my major professor used to say that about just ideas. Like, in the industry I work in, writing and publishing is really just starts from an idea. And if I can get it published faster than you, I may take your idea and say, hey, let me make let me seem like the person that came up with the idea, and you just help me write the paper, and we'll go from there. And really what he was saying is like, you give those ideas away because they can, they may help you advance your career. Don't think you can't come up with more ideas. If you get stuck on and dwell on the idea that was the best idea you ever had, you never have another good idea. That's exactly how it goes. It says, so whenever you're, going through this process, if somebody wants to, songwriters go through this, where it's like somebody else takes the credit, gets the Grammy for it the first year, and it's like, but they're gonna come back to that person and come back to that well and say, give me another one. And they're gonna have, eventually they're gonna want to, skip the middleman. So it always happens that way, and that's exactly how he describes him. Say, hey, so if it's eventually they keep sending you a second author, they're gonna figure out you're the person who's coming up with this. This first person, it may just be of a higher esteem or prestige, and that's how they're, getting the acclaim for it for now. Your job now becomes keeping the ideas going, keep it staying fresh, staying who you are, staying rooted, so that the ideas keep coming to you.
But no, God bless the brother. I know I'm human. He's human. We all go through shit. But in brighter news, I am a new resident of this place. I am no longer visiting this great state of Georgia. Man, I don't know. It ain't. It's like I feel what it's like to live here, right? But I haven't, because I ain't got my own crib. I'm staying with family in the meantime. But until I get my own spot, which is coming soon, but I ain't really got a chance. But I'm going around in the city. I'm going around. I'm moving around. I'm seeing things. Congratulations to the Braves. This is 2 for 2. I'm 2 for 2 in cities that won the World Series.
Yeah.
So I don't know when I'm moving from this place. Wherever I'm moving, and if there's a baseball team there, I'm fucking betting on these niggas to win.
Man, I mean, it's major for the city because
1995, man.
Black people in Atlanta really rock with the Braves.
Oh man,
it really affected the community when they moved.
Is that Hank or is that more than Hank? It's more than Hank.
It's more. I think it's rooted. It's rooted in Hank Aaron, especially because he still lived on the West Side. Like the West Side is crazy when you see like mansions and then potholes and you know what I'm saying, like all that stuff. It would really hurt the city when they moved from Turner Field, which is downtown.
Come on, man, that shit's true.
Out Marietta. Oh yeah. But I mean, the stadium out there is major. It's something.
I was telling my brother, man, that was like one of my special things coming to down here in the Atlanta area, driving on the highway and just looking to my right and just seeing that motherfucker.
Right now it's Georgia State, so it's still somewhere you can go to see a game.
Where they play the football there?
Yes, I think they play football there. So this is
oh man, I wish I would have caught a fucking game there, man. That should have been live. But you said this spot is in Marietta.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's not too far from.
It's still not Center City. Yeah, Center City like the previous stadium.
And then there's so much stuff around.
Yeah.
Down there, it's like, man, it was almost like a party every time I drove by there. Like, and then there was a game playing. Like,
that's what they were. When you look at what happened to the area of Vine City, Pittsburgh, around the area, since stuff has been moved, they've been dispersing everything. So. The old Atlanta we know or have heard lore about has gotten completely dispersed and traded out because where you want to start? The idea of black fun or the value of black, the idea of black dollars versus the reality of capitalism. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to go down a political route? So there's so many ways you can break down what really happened, and it's crazy that while celebrating the World Series, you got to remember, like, people who are local are like, but they in Marietta though. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it's cool. I go out to the games out there, but it's not like it was when it was at Turner Field.
Man, God bless Turner Field. Yeah, I guess they still keep the lights on, so that's good. Yeah. They ain't tearing it down, right? Please don't tear it down.
I think that Georgia State getting it saved it. Because, one thing that Atlanta's, big cities, let me not just say Atlanta by itself, big cities are really good at is repurposing the whole area so that you don't, you'll be able to tell your kids this is what it used to be, but they would never be able to even imagine what it was.
Rest in peace, RFK Stadium, man. Excuse me. The team,
Washington football team,
known as the offensive name for Native Americans. I used to play there. And I never been a fan of them. I was never a fan. I remember one time a dude asked me if I was, because I'm from DC, but he asked me, and he said, he said, "You a Cowboys fan?" Like, where I'm from, you literally got two or three, right? You Cowboys, the team I mentioned prior, or Eagles fan, right? Those are the teams you're really choosing, right? And then you might have a little sputtering of like Steeler fans around, but I wasn't into football till like middle school, so I didn't really care.
Yeah, I was raised by the first team.
Oh, that's right, that's your squad, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see.
And it makes me think, like, when I got into history class, like, is it something that's subconscious? Like, we think we root for ourselves? I know we're not.
No.
You know what I'm saying? In reality, but where the term comes from, is something that's why they have such a large fan base in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just making something deep that you want to be that deep.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the Cowboys. They've had players like my favorite receiver was always T.O. off break. Like, because around the time when I was literally in my living room, I remember that game when he caught that catch in the playoffs. I was fucking crying. Like, I remember I was watching that live.
I was.
Right?
That was probably my last time really liking him like that, even when he played with us.
Even when he played with y'all?
That's neither here nor there.
He was a dog when he was with y'all, though.
He's a great player. Great player. I don't know him personally, so I don't like speaking on people. We got the same
name, man. I rock with that.
Yeah. Most Terrells I know love themselves, some of themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Terrell Brandon, too, the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. All the Terrells.
Y'all don't lack confidence.
But no, once again, we're in the afternoon here. I guess
it's on Eastern time, man.
Yeah, we're on Eastern time, man. Look, it didn't take me a while to get used to waking up early again, because I was waking up, if we were doing LA time, so around LA time, it's 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock here. So I was usually up around that time while I was there. If I slept in late, it might be to like 10, which is what, 1 here. So nothing crazy, but football comes on around that time. So it was perfect on Sunday.
Yeah.
But going back to the Kanye joint, will you listen to episode 2?
I plan on listening to it. I'll probably get to it just because after listening to the first, I'm like, what else would you have to say?
Right. I mean, if I were to sum up my culmination of it, both episodes are different. Both episodes contain pretty much some of the same vernacular and some of the same emphasis as mine. But he does mention in the second one about the show that he plans to do with Drake for the benefit of Mr. Larry Hoover.
Yeah.
I've been living in West Coast culture, and as I'm learning more about the work that I do and trying to create, I'm learning more about Midwest culture and Midwest gang culture. And rest in peace to a young man named Yummy. Yummy. Gotta edit that out. But rest in peace to Yummy, young kid in Chicago. Gotta give his real name because they definitely want to create something. I know they made a book about it, but there's got to be something live action created. That's something that's going to need the community there to be a part of, because still a lot of OGs living. They'd rather getting old though.
Yeah.
They like a little generation under my grandmothers. So it's like they're getting in that age where it's like,
But as I put my mind to it, man, I feel like gang culture is similar to the music that is starting to be so connected to, in the sense of like, it hasn't got a chance to I'm speaking as an armchair quarterback. Let's start there, but it's still having trouble maturing until its fullness. You go from local street gang to mob, and you get the bigger cases, and then at some point in time you go legal, you go public. It's like a corporation, and we all there's still corporations now in America that 2 decades ago, 2 generations ago, they were being funded by the black market of America. So one of the main indicators of America's kind of ostracization and marginalization and other fancy words, but just down pressing of our community is never being able to fully quite get over the hump of what it is in the American cycle of getting the bag,
Mm-hmm.
becoming
Mm-hmm.
a part of this capitalist machine.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I'll say that my time living in Los Angeles, you see, yes, black people with things, right? But there is, from my knowledge, which is what I experienced, not a sense of unity in terms of community, in terms of like, when I see you on the streets, you acknowledge me. It's almost like I don't even exist. But there's so few living and being in these circles, right? That's probably one of the biggest things,
I
It's
don't want
really.
to be nostalgic, but like living through the '90s,
Mm,
like the '90s being kind of the time period of your, it wasn't the best times. I
mm-hmm,
remember that because I remember what was happening also in our community.
mm-hmm,
But like it was like the last phase of the like Black Pride from the '70s.
mm,
Kind of, we still have cultural centers and like recognizing people on the streets was a part of like who you like. You're being taught by parents like, no, these are your people.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This is like, why are you speaking to everybody, mama? Like, because these are our people. Like, what's wrong with you? You don't like our people? Like, no. These are somebody. These are somebody.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm recognizing them because they're somebody. We are somebody was something we had to say in school
Mm-hmm.
in the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, schools have changed, and I don't know, man. Like, there's nothing wrong with a little pride.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with having a little community,
Mm-hmm.
and that it seems like night and day between that time period and now, but that could be, nostalgic.
I could definitely, again, living here in the Atlanta area, I could definitely say that was one of the first things. Just comfort level was raised.
Well,
Not having to worry about colors, not having to worry about what hat I'm wearing, not or team hat I'm wearing, not having to worry about even just being in smaller realms where there's only so few of people who look like me. I'm in fucking Publix, bro. Just Publix. I'm in Publix looking at varying degrees of black people, right? Who fit the tax bracket. And I'm just like, fuck, I can breathe in this motherfucker, right? A lot different than going in your local market or even the fucking Ralph's, I took my brother before we bounced. I took him to a Ralph's. I think it was like at the edge of Inglewood. It's between Inglewood and heading toward into West Los Angeles. But we went to that Ralph's, bro. It was the most hood Ralph I've been in since I've lived in LA. And I was like, yo, and I've been in all kinds of Ralphs. I've been in joints downtown. I've been in joints in Pasadena. I've been in all kinds of fucking Ralphs. That's the worst Ralphs I've ever seen since I lived there. And we immediately noticed it from the fucking parking lot.
Yeah.
From the parking lot. And I got in that store and I was just like, yeah. And I'm looking at people who look like me, but not on various degrees of the tax bracket as well. Right? It was almost like, nah, this is y'all Ralphs down here, but to say all that, I love my time in Los Angeles. I'm grateful for all the people I met there. I'm grateful for my time there. People be like, yo, would you go? I accomplished what I went out there for.
Yeah.
I don't think people really, I think when it comes to LA, it's almost like you go out there and you become the fame that is there. I had a goal, in mind. And I knew that if in a certain amount of years I wasn't, in the tax bracket that I was comfortable in trying to find a home, because I'm at a point in my life I'm thinking home ownership. And Kanye said some shit, and his keep going back in it because we're using this as the compilation within this whole entire thing we're doing here. But he spoke of us being trapped in the thought of home ownership, and that's some type of trap. That's how they trap us. And I was like, come on, man, how are you going to deny someone the basic, like we've been hearing about the home since fucking folklore, right? And communities. But you agree with?
I agree, but I mean,
you agree with him?
No, I don't agree with him.
Okay.
I agree that agree with the thought. But one thing I want to add in there is that he's a part of a different group of friends. Just because of his financial ability and whom he rubs elbows with and names drop. He's a part of a different group of friends. And one thing that if you study the history of people who have a lot of money, there's a clique of them who dibble dabble in these philosophies and thoughts because they have the money to. Like, there's some who dibble dabble in philanthropies and how they can make society better. There's some who dabble in make society worse. You know what I'm saying? And then there's this other clique who kind of like the hippie band of the, at one point in time, thousandaires, at one point in time, millionaires. And now these are kind of the hippie brand of billionaires who, it's really weird that they kind of like project out these ways of living that are only could be accomplished through having your amount of wealth. You know, like I couldn't no, it would sound good for a person like me, but without your wealth to offset the cost burden I'm putting on somebody else, you know what I'm saying? I don't have that to exchange. I don't have even acclaim or fame of me. I stayed at your crib, bro. Now everybody gonna want to come by and sit on this couch that I stayed on. That's gonna make you money. So now look, we just fed each other. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that to exchange, even barter with you. So, you know, that's why sometimes I take stuff like that with a grain of salt. Like, no, I hear you. You may know something, but just simply because you have, way more than I have today, I can't say that you're giving me advice I could use today.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I like that a lot. How you been though? You said you went to homecoming.
Man, I've been good, man. It was good to be out the house. It was good to be trying to see people again, trying some semblance of normalcy. When you're navigating, pandemic and the stuff I was going through pre-pandemic, I had a, what do you call it, a moment where I was like, oh man, that made me kind of numb to all this. Where, people trying to show love, people trying to show, it's really good to see you. And I'm not saying I'm not feeling anything, but I don't think that I'm fully embracing and feeling what they want me to feel. And I think it was big to have that ownership of like, nah, bro. Like people, it's different than when it's coming from your partner, your wife, because you seek that. Friends who you have a long-standing relationship with, because you seek that. But for people who you may have associate with, who you have a history with, they know you from way back when, they still want to show and express that, and it should give you a warmth that should be there. I just feel like the colors are dull, and that was something to address. You know what I'm saying? Something to chew on in my own experience. But other than that, man, it was lively, man. It was still, again, I was telling the fellas, like, I'm not sure if it got better looking outside, but it's still out there. It's still out there. I mean, respectfully, it's still out there.
Right.
What the kid say? It's up.
Yo, he said that shit several times in the interview, Drink Champs interview. Kanye said, or Ye, into the ghost. But yeah, I think that's when I realized, like, yo, I ain't really caring about. It's like,
show, man.
I'm not really on that no more, man. Like,
yeah,
I can't care to be where the pop line is in life. You know what I'm saying?
True.
I can look at it, I can view it, but I don't really have to be a part of it anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Well, your perspective, your viewpoint is different. See, at one point, it's really crazy how as you go throughout life and age, your proximity to the pop. So whenever you were like early adolescence, late middle school, late elementary, early middle school, you were still in the rafters, but you were working your way down to the 100s. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't really do nothing with the pop.
Right.
You can listen to it in the car with your parents. You know what I'm saying? You can experience it that way, but you don't really understand. Like the music we heard during that time, we don't really understand what the full range of spaces it can be used in. Right. So I always imagine, like, man, what was it like whenever, Back That Thing Up dropped for real? You know what I'm saying? That was like 979, 9899. You know what I'm saying? I'm in middle school. I don't know when it dropped originally. You know what I'm saying? Like we got the replays. Right. It still had lasting power, but we don't know when it first hit and the first DJ dropped that in. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? So by the time you get to 18 and 18 to 30, you're now in the 100s and down in the floor seats of when it comes to popular culture. Like it's centered around you. You're the ones that will spend your money more frivolously. You the ones who will sleep outside for a concert or a shoe, or you know what I'm saying, more likely to. Not saying that anyone else, the age brackets are not doing it, but when you're trying to market a brand, who you're trying to really, center popular culture around. It's around youth, but still adult. You know what I'm saying? Hot, but not, it's expanding.
That's probably why Nike has been able to, just jump over generation
because they have to say their market, their age gap group still stays the same. And even though they have lasting power with some of the older groups, they know who they're still talking to all the time.
Right.
So when you're,
and if you want to be in that or be seen in that view, right? That's why you throw it on, right?
Yeah. So, but after like 30 to 35, you start seeing that popular culture is no longer centered around you and what you think is cool, what you think is hot. And I'm not saying that you don't have other spaces that you will find it, but now instead of having the 5 radio stations, you now have 3 that are really playing stuff that you really, really want to listen to. I'm not saying you don't know. When you jump over to the other one that has 5, there's just a couple tracks over there that you listen to. There's a couple that you're like, this is not really my taste anymore. You know what I'm saying? So you start going to that. It's a slight senility where you're like, no, this is not sitting around me anymore. I understand it maybe, or I don't understand it. We'll see how it goes, and that's what determines kind of like elder or OG or whatever that we become. But that's how I see it.
What's crazy? That's funny you say that. I never thought in mind of that position, or you know what I'm saying, being
you're in the press boxes now. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah,
yeah. Like now, you're not even like I came here for the game, but also I got to have a bathroom near me. You know what I'm saying? I might get a little thirsty. I don't want a big soda. I want a little soda that they have at the little bartender. You know what I'm saying? Like now, because you're not centered around pop culture, like you're in the good seats where you. Oh, I remember somebody used to sing this song. You know what I'm saying? You can tell a sample when you hear the remake. There's nothing surprising you anymore. You got to remember when it was sitting around you, it was like, yo, where does track come from? Old heads like, man, this is a sample, boy. This somebody that sung the song. Nah, not like such and such and such. So, yeah, man.
Wow, man. But again, homecoming, y'all eat anything good? I always like when people go out of town. I don't know if they ate anything good.
I mean,
pause.
We did eat good food. It's a lot of new spots. Old Jenny is taking over the block everywhere that you can go.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So we ate some pretty hippie, gentrified, spots. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but especially like brunch spots. Brunch spots is something that everybody's into. So,
is that like a millennial hotspot? Since
young adults in Charlotte is definitely a pop. I feel like Charlotte is starting to mature in age, similar to like you'll see as you around the city. Like Atlanta is young and old. Atlanta got old and young spots. You know what I'm saying? I think Charlotte is humming and bubbling for young professionals and now families. And before too long, Charlotte will be, humming and have its kind of older scene as well. So.
That's hard body. Hard body. Huh. I gotta think of that. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. I mean, if there ever is a transportation, hyper speed transportation between Atlanta and Charlotte, that changes the game for a lot of people. And if they can get it from Atlanta to Charlotte, they can do Atlanta to DC. And now, if I can do Atlanta to DC in, a day, I can be Atlanta in the morning and DC by evening time. We're talking. I mean, people are flying that way, but
no, because when I think about it, there's with the MARTA here, DC's DC Metro, got New York Metro, Philly, they got their former Metro.
Yeah.
As someone who grew up, I've taken all of them now that I think about it, but as someone who's grown up, I would have thought my fucking almost 40s, I get some hyper tech shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's that. Now we're starting to dabble into why hasn't America invested in herself in so long? And that
I think that's important. Say that whole joint again.
Why hasn't America invested in herself in so long? Because when it comes to her bread and butter, when it comes to rail and transportation and being in innovation, We now have outsourced everything. We're now just a consumer kind of population, and left really the people who are not the billionaires and millionaires to their devices, that we haven't even, made their labor worth, putting an American flag on, if you will.
I don't want to be too nerdy here. Was the rail and transportation system infrastructure in America, was that during the industrial era?
Yeah, that's what this is. This is like when we're going from the industrial, second industrial revolution into the transcontinental railroad now made us a place that can not only have raw materials, and we can get stuff from one side of the world to the other side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we now, as a landmass, have now connected the East and the West.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's, when you start thinking about, Great Britain as one of the major powers,
mm-hmm.
and then the Asian peninsula, the Asian continent,
mm-hmm.
as one of the main places you want to go get resources.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be China, is China today, and India, or even some of the islands over there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and this is pre-Panama Canal. Panama Canal solves a whole bunch of this problem.
Oh man!
But we had a rail system, especially in the eastern part of the United States, that rivaled many of the rail systems in the world, and
mm-hmm.
kind of fell behind. There's some things that all throughout history, historians talk about that we just kind of like were the innovators of, and once we sell to the world, we kind of let go by the wayside.
Which makes for Japan looking at a lot of our things and just saying, oh, and then
mm-hmm.
The things that they've taken from American culture and just even still adopt to this day that are the origins. It's like the Tim Duncan post game. It's like, you can hate it as much as you want, but you're gonna get this 20 and 15 whether you like it or not.
Being a social studies teacher, one of my students, I had the American flag kind of rolled up over my desk, hanging still. It was not it wasn't on my desk. But she was like, "You need to unravel that." And I was like, "Well, you don't have to worry about me and patriotism. It kind of comes with the curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
I can have my own opinions about it,
mm-hmm.
but one thing that I've always struggled with as a citizen is still having pride in it, because you can't be from somewhere else. You didn't choose this. You are from where you're born, and you go back and forth on what that means to you, but all the same, man, like, should I really feel any guilt for being American? Like, especially with the history that I have, my family and ancestors endured. Like, nah, like this is where we at. This is who we are, and this is something that you always, from my position, will battle with. It's always gonna be there.
It's almost like the home where you get beaten, you gotta go back to.
Yeah, but even better than that, like, because that goes into what a lot of people think. Just cut the family off entirely. It's like, no. Fuck the family that don't fuck with you. Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? But like, but to cut the whole family off, you unrooted now. Especially whenever you have been, like, literally uprooted, replanted, you know what I'm saying, in this new way. And after you were replanted, you broke out of that pot, created your own, you know what I'm saying, land, created your own kind of place to grow in. You've always had the pressure of the outside to still want to be over you, but you still were always out of the pot at this point. Like, we've been here for so long and truly created. We created culture in a hyper vacuum from nothing. I mean, we were creating culture within the institution. Like, one of my areas of study was U.S. slavery, and it's like, bruh, in the slave community, as we call it, like, you have to talk about culture, because these people are, still remixing and sampling and layering culture to, like, once you get out of this heinous institution, oh, bro, we got cultures you guys don't even know about. Hold on, let me tell you about this. We got this music called blues. You get us some instruments. We got this jazz we got going on. We got the singing shop. We got this whole religion that we've been doing in the shack. That, I mean, now we can do it freely now because we Americans. So it's something to take in. It's something.
Even country music, man.
But country music is just a new label on something that we've always done. That's just blues. That's just blues that is much more comfortable for certain ears. American popular. Part of the reason why Kanye West, we'll go back to him, and I'm gonna do it this time. Part of the reason why Kanye West and anyone who is Black American is such a weight in popular culture around the world is because America created the popular culture. Let's start there. American popular culture is nothing. It doesn't exist without Black Americans. We created this first popular music, first mass media marketable music. And at every turn, we are the pioneers of sounds that will be regurgitated back to us in other countries saying, hey, no, all we're doing is giving you our country's version of what they just did 10, 15 years ago. And every time somebody's like, no, this is some new music that this new country's like, no, listen. The Black Americans, when we listen to their music, they were just doing 10, 15 years ago. That's how we were able to respin this into our culture. So that's been the story that everybody knows. A lot of people don't like it, but that's just the way it is. So you don't have an international popular culture, especially in music, without Black Americans as entertainers, as artists who are playing as musicians. One of my favorite things to listen to is how we have some of the best instrumentalists in the world, world-class instrumentalists just playing on the Motown track.
And I'm forced to think of, again,
not to downplay it.
But you brought up U.S. slavery. I mean, it makes me go because I don't think people understand if they don't have the recollection to know that white people would be eating dinner and Blacks would be serving them, but Blacks would be playing music for them, live music instruments for them as they ate. And motherfuckers would fucking brag, oh, this is Demetrius, our slave, who can play the fucking. Now this nigga been picking cotton all fucking day.
I sent Demetrius to France to learn from one of the premier violinists. You understand that this community was weird, fam. Atrocious. But when I say weird, to feed the bellies of white folk, entertain white folk, you would get sent to be a chef somewhere. You know what I'm saying? We were world class coming out of the institution, not because of them, but because of their desires for who we were. So you have recollections of, hey, you sent me to France and to do all this stuff, and yeah, I'm not skilled, but your boy down the street said he'll treat me better than he'll treat you. You're treating me, and he'll give you all the money that you said I'm worth. And you're like, but I sent you to France those 3 times. That cost some of this. He said he'll pay all that, and I said I kind of like him better. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still gonna be a slave, but I don't really want to be here no more because of how you treated my mama. I ain't never forgot that. Talk about no. All these years you would send me to France. I was like, no. I'm gonna keep sending me over here to become the chef, or become the brick mason, or become the violinist. And as soon as I get good enough, I'm gonna find somewhere else or find somewhere else to go. I'm gonna run away. So all that money's now gone. But it's just. Understand, man, they're so entrenched in this institution that there's the foot soldiers outside who are in the field that we like to think of so much, but there's all these other elements that you keep peeling back layers of where we were involved and engaged in lives. So when emancipation comes, this space is much more complex than just the mass that was in the field or the few that were in the house and they just out in the world. No. There was a whole society that had to still learn how to function again, because you would have a violinist who, I left like everybody else left, but I'm not really fit to be out here walking with everybody else. I ain't really been doing that. I've been chilling. You know what I'm saying? So I know I got to go to a city somewhere and find some work. So the development of cities is even affected by emancipation, all that kind of stuff, because kind of we still got to figure out a way to have this society work. Yeah, my brick mason is free now, but fam, we got to still figure out a way to get these things built that we discussed. Yeah, I want to still use the racist institution that we still going to put in place, but I still have to, and that's the history of our country as far as who's here and how the fight has continued to go. But now we done gone from Kanye West to a whole nother something.
Hey, man, this is the show, man. This show,
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to call this. I think I got a name, but I'm not going to say it right here. Now,
well,
we're going to talk about
I got here. I'll name this later. But
not the episode. No, the episode, we'll definitely figure it out what should be named. We're talking about. I'm talking about the name of the actual show. I might have an idea. I don't want to share it just yet. We'll talk about it. And I don't need you guys voting on it because unless you're paying for us just yet.
Yeah, I'm not.
We're going to create this in the back in the science lab. But anything else you want to say before we bounce?
No. I started going right there.
Oh no! I mean, look, we had a great time. I had a great time, and we discussed some things. Like I said, this is going to be a continuous thing. Where we go in our discussion, who knows? But thank you once again for tuning into our show. This is the actual first combination of our actual show, right? So he ain't a guest, I ain't a guest. This is actually our show. So thank you for listening. God bless. Stay up. Peace.
Peace.
Cool.